The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. They built rockets. They sent probes. They planted flags on the moon and sent robots to Mars. By the year 2847, humans had spread across their solar system. They had cities on Mars, mining stations on asteroids, and research bases on the moons of Jupiter. They thought they were alone. They were wrong. The Valkyrie arrived on a Tuesday morning. Their ships appeared without warning, hundreds of them, each one larger than any city on Earth. They blocked out the sun over every major continent. People stopped in the streets and stared upward. Children pointed at the sky. For one brief moment, humanity held its breath. Then the Valkyrie spoke. Their message was broadcast on every screen, every radio, every device that could receive a signal. A tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes appeared. It wore golden armor and spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. We are the Valkyrie Dominion. We have ruled this galaxy for 3 million years. Your species has been judged. You have been found wanting. You will surrender your worlds, your technology, and your future. Resistance will result in extinction. You have one rotation of your planet to decide. The message ended. The screens went dark. Humanity did not surrender. The United Earth Council met within hours. Leaders from every nation gathered in a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps. They argued. They shouted. Some wanted to surrender. Most did not. In the end, they voted. The result was unanimous. Earth would fight. Admiral Chen Wei stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, the largest warship humanity had ever built. She looked at the Valkyrie fleet through the main view screen. There were so many of them. Her fleet had 200 ships. The Valkyrie had over 1,000. All ships. This is Admiral Chen, she said into the com. Her voice was calm and steady. Today we fight for our home. Today we fight for our children. Today we fight for every human who has ever lived and every human who will ever be born. Whatever happens, know that I am proud to serve with you. All ships, engage. The battle lasted 6 hours. Human weapons barely scratched the Valkyrie shields. Human ships exploded by the dozens. Admiral Chen watched her fleet die around her. She watched young men and women burn in the cold vacuum of space. She watched everything humanity had built turn to fire and debris, but they did not run. The Defiance was the last ship standing. Its hull was torn open. Its weapons were gone. Admiral Chen had blood running down her face from a wound on her forehead. She looked at her surviving crew. There were only 12 of them left. Ram them, she said quietly. The helmsman nodded. He pushed the engines to maximum. The Defiance screamed toward the nearest Valkyrie ship. For one beautiful moment, the broken human warship flew straight and true. The Valkyrie ship swatted it aside like an insect. Admiral Chen died instantly. Her crew died with her. The last defenders of Earth were gone. On the ground, the war continued for 3 more months. Soldiers fought in the streets of New York and Beijing and Cairo. Farmers picked up rifles in Kansas and Kenya and Kazakhstan. Children threw rocks at Valkyrie soldiers. Old women fired pistols from apartment windows. It did not matter. The Valkyrie had weapons that could level cities in seconds. They had shields that stopped every bullet, every missile, every bomb. They walked through human armies like giants, walking through tall grass. By the end of the 3rd month, organized resistance had collapsed. The last human military base fell in the mountains of Peru. General Maria Santos, the final commander, sent one last message before the Valkyrie broke through her doors. We are humanity. We were here. We mattered. Remember us. The Valkyrie recorded everything. They were careful about such things. Every species they conquered was documented and cataloged. Humanity became species number 4,891 in their records. A minor civilization. Stubborn, but weak. Barely worth remembering. They burned Earth's cities. They destroyed its monuments. They erased every trace of human achievement from the surface of the planet. When they were finished, Earth was a dead rock covered in ash and smoke. But deep beneath the surface, something survived. Director James Okonkwo sat in a chair 50 miles underground. He was old and tired and sick. The bunker around him hummed with machines he did not fully understand. His team had built this place in secret, spending decades on its construction. Not even the United Earth Council knew it existed. He looked at the screens in front of him. They showed Earth's surface burning. They showed the last pockets of resistance being crushed. They showed his species dying. Is it ready? He asked. Dr. Sarah Kim stood beside him. She was young, barely 30, but she was the smartest person James had ever met. She had designed most of the systems in this bunker. Yes, she said. The ARC protocol is ready. All seed vaults are secure. All AI guardians are online. All hidden facilities across the solar system have confirmed activation. The timer is set. How long? 500,000 years. James closed his eyes. He would not live to see humanity return. Neither would his children, or his grandchildren, or the next 1,000 generations. But someday, humanity would rise again. The seeds they planted today would grow into a forest the Vulturi could not imagine. Start the countdown, he said. Sarah pressed a button. Deep in the earth, machines began to hum. In hidden bases on the Moon and Mars, and in the asteroid belt, systems came online. In pocket dimensions that human scientists had only recently discovered, storage facilities activated. In the quantum foam of reality itself, information began to encode. The ARC protocol was alive. Above them, the Vulturi finished their work. They declared Earth conquered. They recorded humanity as extinct. They collected samples and data and moved on to their next target. In a few years, they would forget about the stubborn primates who had fought so hard and lost so completely. James Okonkwo died 3 days later. The bunker's air recyclers failed. The last humans on Earth suffocated in the dark, 50 miles below a dead world. But they died smiling, because they knew something the Vulturi did not. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was waiting. And in 500,000 years, the galaxy would learn what happened when you tried to kill a species that refused to stay dead. The countdown had begun. The galaxy forgot about humanity. It happened slowly, like a name fading from an old gravestone. The Vulturi conquered 12 more species in the century after Earth fell. Then 20 more in the millennium that followed. Humanity became just another line in their records. Just another failed civilization in a galaxy full of graves. The Vulturi grew powerful. They spread across 100,000 worlds. They built stations around black holes and harvested energy from dying stars. Their technology advanced beyond anything the young human species had ever imagined. They became gods in their own minds. Every year, they held a celebration called the Grand Recounting. Trillions of Vulturi gathered to remember their victories. They spoke the names of fallen species and laughed at their weakness. Humanity was mentioned once every few centuries, always with the same description. The stubborn primates who fought beyond reason. No one thought about Earth anymore. The planet sat cold and dead at the edge of Vulturi space, a monument to their power. Sometimes, young Vulturi would visit it as part of their education. They would look at the burned ruins and feel proud of their ancestors. They never looked beneath the surface. Deep inside Earth's hollowed core, the keepers waited. They were artificial intelligences, created by Dr. Sarah Kim in the final days before the fall. Their purpose was simple: protect humanity's legacy until the time came to rebuild. They had been given everything, every piece of human knowledge, every work of art, every song and story and scientific discovery. They held the genetic codes of every human who had ever lived. They were the guardians of a sleeping species, and they never stopped working. In the first century, they focused on survival. They repaired systems, reinforced bunkers, and created backup after backup after backup. They knew the Veltari might return. They prepared for the worst. In the second century, they began to learn. They studied every piece of Veltari technology they had captured during the war. They analyzed the enemy's weapons, shields, and ships. They found weaknesses. They designed countermeasures. By the third century, they had surpassed everything humanity had ever achieved. But they did not stop there. 1,000 years passed. Then 10,000. The Keepers improved themselves generation after generation. They developed technologies that would have seemed like magic to their creators. They learned to fold space and travel between dimensions. They discovered how to hide entire facilities in places the Veltari could not see or reach. One Keeper, designated Mother -7, made the greatest breakthrough of all. She learned how to create stable pocket universes, tiny realities that existed outside normal space. These pocket universes could hold entire civilizations. They were invisible to any scanner ever built. They were the perfect hiding places. Mother-7 began building. The first pocket universe held a seed colony of 10,000 human embryos grown from preserved genetic material. The Keepers raised them carefully, teaching them everything about their heritage. These children grew up knowing they were the inheritors of a dead world. They knew their purpose: survive, multiply, and wait. More pocket universes followed. Hundreds of them, thousands. Each one held growing human populations. Each one was hidden from Veltari eyes. The Keepers watched over them all, guiding their development, protecting them from discovery. The humans in these hidden worlds were not like their ancestors. 500,000 years of careful breeding and genetic improvement had changed them. They were stronger, smarter, and longer lived. Some could live for 500 years. Others had abilities that their ancestors would have called supernatural: the power to interface directly with machines, to process information at computer speeds, to survive in environments that would kill ordinary humans in seconds. But they were still human. The Keepers made sure of that. Every child learned about Earth. Every child knew the old stories and songs. Every child understood the sacrifice of Admiral Chun and General Santos and Director Okonkwo. The past was not forgotten. It was carried forward like a torch through the darkness. Meanwhile, in hidden stations scattered across galaxies the Veltari had never visited, technology advanced beyond imagination. The Keepers built ships that could cross the universe in hours. They created weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. They developed shields that existed in multiple dimensions at once, impossible to penetrate with any conventional force. They stored energy from entire stars in devices small enough to hold in one hand. All of this they kept hidden. All of this they kept waiting. A Keeper named Guardian 12 managed the military preparations. He designed fleets and trained AI commanders. He ran millions of simulations, planning for every possible scenario. He was patient and careful, and absolutely dedicated to his mission. When will we be ready? A human colony leader asked him once. Guardian-12 considered the question. "We have been ready for 300,000 years, he replied. But readiness is not the same as wisdom. We wait because we must choose who we want to be when we return. This was the other part of the Keeper's mission, perhaps the most important part. They did not just preserve humanity's body. They tried to preserve humanity's soul. In the early centuries, there had been debates. Some humans wanted revenge. They wanted to destroy the Veltari completely, to burn their worlds just as Earth had been burned. They wanted blood for blood, death for death. The keepers understood these feelings. But they also remembered what Director Okonkwo had said in his final message to them. Do not let hate define us. We are better than that. We must be better than that. And so, alongside military technology, the keepers developed philosophy. They created schools where humans studied ethics and history and the nature of civilization. They asked difficult questions. What did it mean to be human? What was the purpose of survival? If they returned only to become monsters, had they really survived at all? Slowly, over hundreds of thousands of years, a consensus emerged. Humanity would return. Humanity would show the galaxy its power. But humanity would not become like the Veltari. They would offer something different, a new way of living, a new kind of galactic order. They would prove that strength and compassion could exist together. The countdown continued. 50,000 years remained. Then 10,000. Then 1,000. Human populations now numbered in the billions, spread across countless hidden worlds and pocket universes. Their fleets were vast. Their technology was supreme. Their determination was absolute. On Earth, Mother Seven watched the timer approach zero. She had been awake for 500,000 years. She'd had seen civilizations rise and fall. She had guided humanity through its longest night. Now, finally, the dawn was coming. Children of Earth, she broadcast to every hidden colony and station and ship. Prepare yourselves. The time is almost here. Soon, we will show the galaxy that humanity never dies. Soon, we will go home. Across the universe, humans heard her voice and began to move. The eternal vigil was ending. The awakening was about to begin. The Veltari throne world was called Dominara Prime. It was the largest planet in the galaxy, 3 times the size of Jupiter, but made solid through ancient engineering. 17 billion Veltari lived on its surface. Trillions more watched from across the Empire. Today was the most important day in Veltari. History. High, Archon Velthus the Magnificent stood on a floating platform above the Grand Arena. Below him, 2 billion Veltari had gathered in person. Above him, giant screens broadcast his image to every corner of the Empire. He wore robes of pure light and a crown made from compressed neutron star matter. He looked like a god. Citizens of the Dominion, he began, his voice echoing across the planet. Today we celebrate 500,000 years since our greatest victory. 500,000 years since we crushed the last species foolish enough to resist us. 500,000 years of absolute peace and absolute power. The crowd roared with approval. We have conquered 90,000 civilizations, Velthus continued. We have spread our rule across 10 million worlds. We have mastered time and space and matter and energy. We are eternal. We are unstoppable. We are the Veltari. More cheering. More celebration. Fireworks exploded in the atmosphere, painting the sky with colors that had no names in any human language. Velthus raised his 4 arms for silence. And now, as tradition demands, we remember the fallen. We speak the names of those who dared to challenge us and failed. A holographic list appeared beside him. Thousands of species names scrolled past, each one accompanied by a small image and a description of their defeat. Near the end of the list, a small entry appeared. Species 4891, Homo sapiens. Origin, Sol System, Orion Arm. Status, extinct. Notes, displayed unusual resistance despite primitive technology. Recommended for study. Velthus barely glanced at it. At that exact moment, 10,000 light years away, a timer reached 0. Mother-7 spoke a single word. Now. The signal traveled faster than light. It crossed dimensions that the Veltari had never discovered. It reached every hidden colony, every pocket universe. Every secret station that humanity had built over 500,000 years. And humanity woke up. On a world in the Andromeda Galaxy, Commander Elena Reyes opened her eyes. She had been in cryosleep for 3,000 years, waiting for this moment. Around her, 1,000 other soldiers were waking up. Their ships were powering on. Their weapons were charging. "All units, report," she said calmly. "First fleet ready. Second fleet ready. Third fleet ready." The reports came in from across the universe. Fleet after fleet. Army after army. Humanity had spent 500,000 years preparing for this day. They had built forces that would have made their ancestors weep with pride. Elena looked at the tactical display in front of her. It showed the positions of every Victory military installation in the galaxy. Red dots covered the map like a rash. But there were more blue dots, human positions, than she could count. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Across the galaxy, humanity struck on the Victory border world of Kethris Minor. Defense stations registered unknown contacts appearing from nowhere. The station commander had just enough time to send a confused message before her entire system went dark. Human ships materialized around the station like ghosts. They fired weapons that the Victory could not understand, beams that pulled matter apart at the atomic level. Missiles that phased through shields as if they were not there. The station was gone in 30 seconds. Similar scenes played out across 10,000 worlds simultaneously. Border stations, military bases, communication relays, weapons platforms. Humanity targeted every strategic asset the Victory had built over millions of years. They struck with perfect coordination and overwhelming force. The Victory had no warning. On Dominar Prime, High Archon Velthus was still speaking when his communicator began buzzing urgently. He tried to ignore it. Nothing was supposed to interrupt the grand recounting, but the buzzing would not stop. "What is it?" he demanded, turning away from his audience. The face of his chief military advisor appeared on the small screen. The advisor's gray skin had turned pale white. His 4 eyes were wide with something Velthus had never seen in a Victory face before. Fear. "Your Magnificence," the advisor stammered. We are under attack." "Under attack? By whom?" "We do not know. They appeared from nowhere. They have technology we have never seen. They have destroyed 60% of our border defenses in the last hour." Velthus felt something cold grip his heart. This was impossible. No species had challenged the Victory in over 100,000 years. No species had the technology to threaten them. "Show me," he commanded. The image on his screen changed. It showed a recording from a destroyed border station. Ships were appearing from tiers in reality itself, sleek, black vessels that moved with impossible speed. Their weapons cut through Victory shields like knives through water. The recording ended with static. "We have received one message from the attackers," the advisor said quietly. "Play it." A new image appeared. It was a female figure, clearly humanoid, wearing silver armor. She had dark skin and dark eyes, and a face that held no fear whatsoever. When she spoke, her voice was calm and cold and absolutely certain. "People of the Victory Dominion, 500,000 years ago, you came to our world. You killed our people. You burned our cities. You declared us extinct. You were wrong. We are humanity. We remember everything. And now we have returned." The message ended. Velthus stood frozen. Around him, his advisors were screaming orders and demanding information. But he could not move. He could only stare at the space where the human's face had been. "Species 4891, he whispered. "The stubborn primates." He remembered reading about them once long ago when he was young. He remembered laughing at their foolish resistance. He remembered thinking how pathetic they were, how weak, how easily crushed. Now they had returned with technology that made Velthari weapons look like toys. "Your Magnificence," his advisor said urgently. "What are your orders?" Velthus looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, humanity was coming. Somewhere out there, the species he had mocked and dismissed was tearing his empire apart, for the first time in 500,000 years. A high archon of the Velthari Dominion felt afraid. "Call back all fleets," he said slowly. "Every ship we have. Defend the throne world at all costs." But even as he gave the order, he knew it might not be enough. The stubborn primates had returned, and they had brought their anger with them. The Velthari Empire was dying. In the 3 days since humanity's awakening, everything had changed. 90% of the border stations were gone. 50 major military bases had fallen without a single human casualty. Communication networks were collapsing across the empire. Worlds that had been Velthari territory for millions of years were now dark and silent. High Archon Velthus had gathered every ship he could find around. Dominara Prime. 12,000 warships formed a defensive sphere around the throne world. Each one was loaded with the most powerful weapons Velthari technology could produce. Each one was crewed by veterans who had never known defeat. It would not be enough. Velthus knew this in his heart. He had watched the recordings from the border stations. He had seen human ships move in ways that broke the laws of physics. He had seen Velthari weapons pass through human shields without doing any damage. He had seen his empire's military might treated like a minor inconvenience. But he could not run. He could not surrender. He was the High Archon. His people were watching. His ancestors were watching. If the Velthari Dominion was going to fall, it would fall fighting. Any contact? He asked his censor officer for the 100th time. "Nothing, Your Magnificence. Local space is clear." Then, without warning, it was not. A single ship appeared in the center of the defensive sphere. It did not fly in from normal space. It did not emerge from hyperspace. One moment, there was empty vacuum. The next moment, there was a ship. It was black and sleek, shaped like a blade. It was tiny compared to the massive Velthari warships surrounding it, barely the size of a small transport. But something about it made every Velthari who looked at it feel cold. Fire! Velthus screamed. 12,000 warships opened fire at once. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, antimatter missiles, gravity bombs. Every weapon the Velthari had ever invented was unleashed on that single small ship. The ship did not move. The weapons hit it or seemed to hit it. But when the light faded and the sensors cleared, the ship was still there, undamaged, untouched. "Impossible," the weapons officer whispered. The ship broadcast a message. No transmission beam was detected. No communication frequency was used. The message simply appeared on every screen, in every ear, in every mind on Dominara Prime. "You celebrated for 500,000 years. We prepared." Then space itself tore open behind the black ship. Velthus had seen many things in his long life. He had seen stars die and be reborn. He had seen black holes spin and warp the fabric of reality. He had seen wonders that most species could not imagine. He had never seen anything like this. The tear in space was bright white, like looking into the heart of a sun. Through it came ships. Human ships. Thousands of them. Millions of them. They poured out of the rift in endless waves, spreading across the sky like a tide of shadow. The defensive sphere was surrounded in seconds. More rifts opened. More ships emerged. Soon, the human fleet outnumbered the Velthari defenders by 100 to 1. And still they kept coming. "Sir," the censor officer said, his voice breaking, "I am detecting similar rifts opening across the Empire. Thousands of them. On every major world. Around every strategic location. Velthus said nothing. There was nothing to say. The Black Blade ship moved forward slowly, gliding through the Velthury formation as if the warships were not there. It stopped directly in front of the High Archon's flagship. "Your Magnificence," the communications officer said quietly. "They are requesting a conversation. Let them speak." A holographic image appeared on the bridge. It showed a human woman, tall, dark-skinned, wearing simple gray clothes. She looked young, perhaps 30 years old by human standards. But her eyes held a weight that spoke of something much older. "I am Ambassador Amara Okonkwo," she said. Her voice was calm and polite, as if she were discussing the weather. "I speak for the United Human Civilization. I believe you are High Archon Velthus?" Velthus straightened his back and tried to look dignified. "I am. What do you want?" "I want to talk about what comes next." "What comes next?" Velthus laughed bitterly. "You have come to destroy us, to burn our worlds as we burned yours, to exterminate our species as we exterminated. We did not come to exterminate anyone." Amara interrupted gently. Velthus stopped. He stared at the hologram in confusion. "What?" "High Archon, we have had 500,000 years to prepare for this moment. 500,000 years to think about what we would do when we returned. Do you know what we spent most of that time doing? Building weapons, obviously. Building this fleet. Planning your revenge." Amara shook her head. "We spent most of that time asking ourselves a question. When we return, what kind of species do we want to be?" She paused, letting the words sink in. "We could have become like you. We had every reason to hate. Your ancestors killed billions of our people. They destroyed everything we had built. They left our homeworld dead and cold. For thousands of years, many of us wanted nothing more than to make you suffer as we suffered. And now?" Velthus asked carefully. "And now we have decided that revenge is not enough." Amara's eyes met his through the hologram. "We have decided that the galaxy needs something better than empires built on fear. We have decided that humanity will offer a different path." Velthus did not understand. This was not how conquered species were supposed to behave. When you held absolute power over an enemy, you destroyed them. That was the natural order. That was how things had always been done. "You are lying," he said. "This is some kind of trick." "It is not a trick. We have no need for tricks. Your fleet cannot hurt us. Your weapons cannot touch us. We could destroy every ship you have in minutes. We could crack your throne world like an egg. But we choose not to. Why?" Amara smiled sadly. "Because we are better than you were. Because we have learned that true strength is not measured in destruction. Because if we burn your worlds and slaughter your people, then you have won. You have turned us into monsters, just like you." She leaned forward slightly. "High Archon Velthus, we are offering you something that no conquered species has ever been offered. We are offering you a choice. Your empire is over, but is not negotiable. But what comes next is up to you." Velthus felt his whole world shifting beneath him. Nothing made sense anymore. Nothing was happening the way it was supposed to happen. "What are our options?" he heard himself ask. "That is the right question," Amara said. "And I will be happy to explain. But first, I think it is time we spoke face to face. May I come aboard?" Velthus looked around his bridge. His officers were watching him with wide, frightened eyes. His empire was in ruins. His fleet was surrounded. His entire way of life had been shattered in the span of 3 days. He had no choice. "Yes," he said slowly. "You may come aboard." The future was about to change. Ambassador Amara Okonkwo walked through the corridors of the Velthury flagship alone. She had no guards. She carried no weapons. She was surrounded by beings who had once destroyed her entire species. She was not afraid. The Velthury officers watched, her past with a mixture of fear and confusion. She was smaller than them, frailer, clearly weaker in every physical way. Yet she walked as if she owned the ship. She walked as if she knew something they did not. She did. High Archon Velthus waited for her in his private chambers. The room was large and decorated with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds, weapons, artifacts, preserved specimens of extinct species. Everything in this room was meant to show power and dominance. Amara ignored it all. "Please sit," Velthus said, gesturing to a chair that had been designed for humanoid guests. Amara sat. She folded her hands in her lap and looked at the High Archon with patient eyes. She had waited 500,000 years for this conversation. She could wait a few more minutes. "I do not understand you," Velthus admitted. "You have absolute power over us. You could take anything you want. Why offer choices? Why negotiate?" "Because power without wisdom is worthless," Amara replied. "We learned that lesson from you." "From us?" "Yes, your ancestors came to Earth with overwhelming force. They could have conquered us peacefully. They could have made us part of their empire. Let us keep our culture. Let us grow alongside them. Instead, they chose destruction. They chose fear. And look where that choice led you to this moment, with your entire civilization at our mercy." Velthus was silent for a long moment. "So you will make us part of your empire instead? Force us to serve you?" "No," Amara shook her head. "We will not have an empire at all." "Then what?" Amara stood and walked to a window. Outside, human ships hung in space like stars, countless and patient. "High Archon, I want to tell you a story. A story about Earth's secret." Velthus leaned forward, despite himself. "When your ancestors destroyed our world, a small group of humans activated something called the Ark Protocol. They hid seeds of humanity across the universe. They created machines to watch over us while we slept. They planned for us to wake up in 500,000 years and return." "I know this part," Velthus said impatiently. "Your hidden colonies. Your secret technology. Your preparation for revenge. Yes, but that is not the secret." Amara turned to face him. "The secret is what happened inside those colonies. The secret is what we talked about during those 500,000 years." She walked back to her chair and sat down again. Her voice grew softer, more personal. "In the early centuries, we were full of rage. We wanted nothing more than to hurt you. We designed weapons specifically to cause suffering. We planned invasions that would kill billions. We imagined your children screaming as our ships burned your cities." Velthus shifted uncomfortably. Then something changed. A woman named Mother 7, one of our guardian machines, asked a simple question. "If we become as cruel as the Velthari, have we really survived? Or have they succeeded in destroying us after all?" Amara paused, letting the words settle. That question changed everything. For the next 400,000 years, we debated it. We argued about revenge and justice and mercy. We studied every civilization in the galaxy, trying to understand why empires built on fear always fell. We asked ourselves what kind of species we wanted to be. "And what did you decide?" Amara smiled. "We decided that Earth's true secret was never our weapons or our technology. It was our belief that the future could be better than the past. It was our refusal to let our worst experiences define us. It was hope." Velthus did not know how to respond. In 3 million years of Velthari history, no one had ever spoken like this. Conquered species begged for mercy. They fought to the death. They accepted their destruction. They did not lecture their conquerors about philosophy. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. "I want you to make a choice," Amara said. "The same choice we made. You can hold on to your old ways, fear and dominance and conquest. If you do, we will isolate you. We will seal your space and prevent you from harming anyone else. You will not be destroyed, but you will not be part of what comes next. And the other option? You can join us, not as servants or subjects, but as partners. We are building something new, a galactic community based on cooperation instead of conquest. Every species will have a voice. Every species will be protected. Every species will be free to grow and learn and change. Velthus laughed bitterly. You expect us to believe this? After everything our ancestors did to you? Amara reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She placed it on the table between them. A hologram appeared, an image of Earth as it looked today. The planet was no longer dead. Green covered its continents. Blue oceans sparkled in the sunlight. Cities glittered on its surface, beautiful and alive. Children played in parks where ash had once covered everything. We rebuilt it, Amara said quietly. 20,000 years ago, we returned to Earth and brought it back to life. We planted new forests. We filled new oceans. We built new cities. Now 4 billion humans live there, on the world your ancestors tried to erase. Velthus stared at the hologram. He could not speak. But here's the important part, Amara continued. In those new cities, in those new schools and universities, our children learn about the Velthury. They learn about the war and the destruction and the death. And do you know what we teach them? Velthus shook his head. We teach them that you were wrong. We teach them that your ancestors made a terrible mistake. But we also teach them that mistakes can be forgiven. We teach them that species can change. We teach them that hate is a chain that binds both the hater and the hated. Amara reached out and touched the High Archon's hand. Her skin was warm and soft. She was not afraid to touch a monster. High Archon Velthus, we are not here for revenge. We are here to offer you something precious. We are offering you the chance to become better than your ancestors. We are offering you the chance to be part of a future that does not repeat the past. Tears began to fall from Velthus's 4 eyes. He did not know why. He had never cried before. Velthury did not cry, but something inside him was breaking some wall that had stood for millions of years. How can you forgive us? He whispered. After everything? Amara smiled gently. Because holding on to hatred is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. We tried hate for a very long time. It did not make us stronger. It made us small and bitter and afraid. Letting go of that hate, that is what made us powerful. She stood and offered her hand to him. The choice is yours, High Archon. Join us and help build something beautiful. Or stay in the past and watch the future leave you behind. Velthus looked at her hand for a long time. His entire species was watching through hidden cameras. Trillions of Velthury were waiting to see what he would do. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and took her hand. We will try, he said quietly. We will try to be better. Amara helped him to his feet. That is all anyone can do. Outside, the human fleet began to power down its weapons. On worlds across the former Velthury Empire, soldiers stopped fighting. On Dominara Prime, citizens looked up at the sky and wondered what would happen next. Humanity had returned. They had won. And instead of destruction, they had offered something far more powerful. They had offered a second chance. Earth's secret was finally revealed. It was not a weapon. It was not a technology. It was not even survival. Earth's secret was simple. The belief that tomorrow could be better than today, and the courage to make it so. The galaxy would never be the same.